Most of us make decisions in an environment where it is very hard for us to behave rationally, and then we wonder why we aren't behaving rationally. This is illustrated perfectly in the modern day office. You probably couldn't design a worse environment for good decisions than the modern day office if you tried. When you first arrive at work, you immediately start to answer the critical emails from your swelling inbox. The inner voice in your head tells you to not worry because you'll get to the rest later. Suddenly, the phone rings. It's your boss asking to chat about the 15-page proposal he was supposed to read for the meeting that's happening in 30 minutes. But you haven't read the proposal either, so you glance at the executive summary and, like anyone that has learned how to survive in an office, you confidently act like you know what's going on. You haven't done the work to have an opinion, but that's the game. In fact, everyone else did the same exact thing. When you finally lift your head up, your email inbox is swelling again, you have missed calls, and it's almost time to pick the kids up from school, and you ask yourself, where did the day go? This isn't an abnormal day, in fact. This is every single day. From the moment you arrive until the moment you leave, you make an inch of progress on 20 things rather than 10 feet of progress on one thing. The unwritten rule is that you have to do these things to justify your job, because if you're not pushing paper, firing up hundreds of emails, and calling and attending meetings, and chasing something down, well, then just what the heck are you actually doing? The cultural environment is typically about politics and signaling, not about putting people in a position to succeed. The physical environment is about busyness and distraction, not focus and thinking. Neither of these environments lines up with good decision making. So what are we to do? Contrast that environment with this one from Warren Buffett. No one understands how your environment influences your ability to make decisions more than Charlie Munger and him. While they're gifted with intellect, they make sure they get the most out of it by structuring their environment to help them make good decisions. Buffett doesn't have a computer in his office, so he's not distracted every few minutes by that annoying little ding that signals a new email. His day isn't full of meetings. He doesn't have a boss coming around and asking him for something tangible that he's working on. He just reads and thinks all day. No wonder he's so good at it. If you want to be able to think for yourself like Buffett, you can't always have someone whispering in your ear. If you want space to think, you need quiet and calm, not a bunch of smart people throwing out new ideas. This is why it's so important to take walks alone without a podcast. That's why Buffett moved from New York to Omaha. In some places, it's easy to lose perspective, Buffett says, but I think it's very easy to keep perspective in a place like Omaha. It's very easy to think clearly here. You're undisturbed by irrelevant factors and the noise generally of business investments. If you can't think clearly in Omaha, you're not going to think clearly anyplace. Putting Buffett in a modern office is like giving Superman kryptonite. His superpower would disappear. He wouldn't be able to think and concentrate. But luckily, he intentionally set up his environment in a way that makes it easier to behave rationally. Yes, we do influence our environments, but we often forget that they influence us too. We like to believe that we are in charge and that our brains are only influenced by our conscious thoughts. That sounds ideal, but it's wrong. Our subconscious brain is far more powerful than our conscious one. And yet, when it comes to getting better at thinking and making decisions, we place all the emphasis on the conscious brain. Learning mental models and methods of thinking that improve our outcomes in order to do that. In so doing, we improve the raw horsepower of our brains, yet there is no point in having a 400 horsepower engine if you can only get 25 horsepower out of it. So here's how to design an effective environment. There's no environment that works for everyone. We all respond differently to different stimuli. A quarter office on the 100th floor in New York might provide inspiration to some, but be a really big distraction to others. What works for me might not work for you. So here are 3 tips that we found most helpful for people when it comes to structuring an environment well to set them up for success. First thing you have to do is structure your day to maximize your energy. Most people do the tasks requiring the least amount of thought, like answering emails, checking voicemails, and just catching up with people in the morning when they could be most productive and their brains are the freshest. Meetings and important decisions get pushed to the afternoon when our brains are not working as well. So all you have to do is simply swap your day around. Do the most important thing first. Another way of thinking about this is to work on solving the biggest problem first, or work on something that's going to keep working for you when it's finished. Number 2, think of your day in chunks of time. Block off chunks of time in your calendar for your own projects and the things that you have to do to excel your career in the projects that you're working on. And we don't mean just like 20 minutes, we mean like hours. It's not easy to get into a state of flow, but once you're there, you're focused on that one thing. It could be thinking about a problem in a 3-dimensional way, or refining a report that you're working on for work. If you interrupt this time, it's very expensive to get back to where you were, often taking sometimes up to half an hour. This is why you need to block off hours. If you have a different appointment every 45 minutes, you can't get into that state of uninterrupted flow that is so crucial to solving difficult problems and making great decisions. Instead, you'll start to make a little bit of progress and then be forced to switch gears and go to a meeting or take a phone call. And that's not ideal for doing great work. We know this step is difficult to do for some depending on their job and what they do, but people often have more agency here than they think. If you have some meetings in the morning and some in the afternoons, see if you can somehow move those back to back, freeing up your schedule either before or after lunch. This isn't really difficult and it's not that big of a step to do, but it frees up a ton of your time to work on the problems that truly matter. Number 3, make effective behaviors easy. If your phone is right next to you buzzing every few seconds during a focused bit of work, you're going to be tempted to look at it. So put it on the other side of your office, or better yet, just turn it off. If you get distracted by emails when you're trying to write, log off of Wi-Fi. If you want to watch less TV, cancel Netflix so it's extremely difficult for you to binge that show. If you work in an open office, buy big noise-canceling headphones. That way people will see those and feel bad about interrupting you, so they'll just come back later, or maybe, hopefully, not at all. Whatever it is you want to do more of, make that thing easy to do. Whatever it is you want to do less of, make that thing painfully difficult to do. The bottom line of all of this is that you don't control everything in your environment. That's true. But you control enough to make a huge difference. Think about what you can control and how you can change it to get more horsepower out of your brain, make effective long-term decisions, and work on the things that truly matter.